Hey, what up everybody? Stevie Reach coming to you with an eBay unboxing. Just got this in the mail last night. I came through, I bought this DVD mostly, a little shout out to my buddy out there, Sean Blackford out there at WWF DVD News, put up a video. He was showing off the anthologies of the Attitude collection that WWF first put on DVDs back in 2001. These were reprints of the VHSs that came out that year. They just threw them on DVD. Pretty much basic, simple stuff. You just put the DVD in, it's already playing. There's no menus or anything, but seeing his video made me go out and I found this on eBay. Pretty cheap. It's one of the cheaper Attitude editions. I wanted to pay less than $10 and ended up paying $8 shipped, so here it is for you. This was honestly one of my favorite tapes that came out. Survivor Series was always one of my favorite pay-per-views throughout the years, and this is just goes 87 through 97. And my favorite Survivor Series actually is 98, and it's not on here, but hopefully we'll get that part 2 of the Survivor Series anthology collection. That for some reason they only put out the first 2 parts, and we'll get Deadly Games on DVD because that is a great tournament for the title. But basically, like I said, basically just pretty easy DVD. Just pop it in, it plays on its own. It just plays all the greatest hits of the Survivor Series. So that's about it. Hey, what is up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here with a review of the WWF Attitude Best of the Survivor Series 1987 to 1997. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we have a WWE DVD release of 30 years of Survivor Series. So I thought I would go back and take a look at the first edition, I guess you can say, looking at the first 10 years. This is a 1 hour sort of documentary that is hosted by Michael Cole. I can honestly tell you that for a lot of newer WWE, WWF DVD collectors, some of the early DVDs they go for is for those 2001 releases from the WWF Attitude collection, which ended up being a collection of re-releases that were released on VHS back in the day and were just sort of quickly transferred over. Some of those were like Unforgiven 98. There was a Best of The Undertaker, a Best of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I apologize, there was 2 Best of Stone Cold Steve Austins. And a few other ones. Austin vs. McMahon is the one that's pretty much dipped in gold as one of the most expensive WWF DVDs there is out there. But this one out here honestly sells for about $50 used, $60 new on Amazon. I will honestly tell you to save your money. There is nothing on this Survivor Series DVD that you need to see. Although it is a very good 1 hour documentary showing you some of the early years of the Survivor Series, this honestly should have been hyped up as their answer to a best of the 1997 Survivor Series and their version of Brett Screwed Brett. They spend one hour sort of hyping up what the Survivors used to be, and honestly, I know there was a point maybe around 2012, 2013, when I thought that the Survivor Series pay-per-view name needed to be retired, because I really hadn't thought about all of the history that the Survivor Series had. And, in the last few years, we've had the debut of The Shield, we had the debut of Sting, sort of bringing some hype to Survivor Series over the last few years, showing that it is the fall classic of WWE. I thought that, honestly, what they showed on the cover is basically what they cover for the first 10 years, saying that is what the best of is. It opens up talking about the 1987 Survivor Series, and they basically made a very huge error in my mind. They basically play up the Survivor Series as a way to sort of answer people wanting to see Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. And they basically say that the WrestleMania 3 was built around Andre the Giant having success in Hollywood over having the film The Princess Bride, that WWF put Hulk Hogan into Hollywood to make No Holds Barred. The only problem with that is that basically No Holds Barred was filmed in between WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5 and had nothing to do with WrestleMania 3. They're able to show a clip of No Holds Barred. Maybe that's a way of sort of throwing some shade at Hulk Hogan, who was not a member of the WWF or WWE at the time. And that's what they were trying to do. They play up the fact that Hogan did win at WrestleMania 3, but Andre did win on the main event. And, sort of, they had the Survivor Series as a way to sort of make everything come back together. Hogan ended up fighting with King Kong Bundy on the outside during that match and ended up getting counted out. And although Bam Bam Bigelow stood up to the Giant, he was not able to overcome the powerful Andre the Giant. Andre ended up being the sole survivor of the match. From there, going and covering the first Survivor Series, they talk about Shawn Michaels being one of the biggest stars in wrestling today, and talk about the fact that he was a member of the Rockers. And they showed some of the early tag matches from the Survivor Series with him being a member, teaming with the Hearts. They show him teaming with the Ultimate Warrior and doing a big splash with Ultimate Warrior, giving him the push off of the top rope in order to get an elimination in one of those matches. Nothing really big there. From there, we go to the debut. It might not have been the debut of Goldust, but it's Goldust versus Bam Bam Bigelow. And this match ends up playing up like pop-up video with Goldust in character popping up and giving tweets. And around 1997, 1998, we had a new character for Dustin Rhodes, where basically he was a born-again Christian, speaking out against everything that was wrong in the WWF at the time. So both of them are popping up on the screen at the same time, talking about the match. It honestly wasn't that good of a match to begin with. I don't know why it deserved to be on the Best of Survivor Series, but it was on here. From there we go to the I Quit match between Bret the Hitman Hart and Bob Backlund. Honestly, still today, one of the biggest head scratchers from my childhood. Basically, they talk about the fact that Bob Backlund had lost the championship, and after a decade of sitting on the sidelines, decided to come back to WWF and worked his way up to challenging against Bret Hart. I can honestly tell you that I remember Bob Backlund's comeback. I remember him wrestling and getting some wins on like Wrestling Challenge and the Jobber shows. I never saw him get a credible win. And all of a sudden, this guy's fighting for the championship against Bret Hart. And I know that it played into the storyline with Owen and everything and the family on the outside. But Owen ends up getting Bret's mom to throw in the towel for him in one of the worst towel throwings of all time. She goes to throw the towel, and her arm is extended to the point where her arm hits the rope, and the rope breaks the towel's throat, and it just starts to fall, and she starts to sort of push the towel into the ring, and she ends up like she looks like she's about to fall into the ring herself. It's just horrible. Backlund becomes a champion. He only held it for, I believe, a day, maybe 2 days, before dropping it to Diesel in the Madison Square Garden house show. It's sort of a hard clip to find for DVD collectors, but it is on YouTube and things like that if you're looking for it. Match is nothing more than the bell ringing, Backlund getting kicked in the gut, picked up, the jackknife powerbomb and a 1, 2, 3, and that's all she wrote. From there, they do talk about the Gravest Challenge with Hogan and Undertaker, but I just honestly made a video about that the other day, so that's sort of fresh, newly uploaded stuff. From there, they go to talking about the 97 Survivor Series, and at this point, they talk about 3 different matches. That's why I said they might as well just call this the best of the 1997 Survivor Series. They talk about Kane versus Mankind, who's they're inside of their feud, and they beat each other up. They're fighting all up and down the aisle, and Kane ends up pulling out the victory. We have the return match from SummerSlam with Stone Cold Steve Austin returning from his broken neck to wrestle against Owen, and basically taking on all members of the Hart Foundation except for Bret. Awesome started the match with Neidhart just charging at Austin, and Austin just hitting the stunner right there to start it. Austin ends up hitting Owen with the stunner, and Philip and LaFon, or whatever their tag team name is, comes to make the save, and they're not able to make the save in time. Austin gets his retribution from his neck breaking at SummerSlam and continues on as the Intercontinental Champion. From there we go to talking about the main event, which is Brett versus Shawn in the Brett's last match in the Brett Screwed Brett sort of Survivor Series, the Montreal Screwjob, which the way that they show the match, where they're basically taking out all the slow points, just showing the highlights, was a very, very good match. Honestly, for two guys, Brett and Shawn, that didn't like each other. Even at one point, JR made reference to their fight backstage in Hartford at a Monday Night Raw taping. These guys didn't like each other, but they put together one hell of a match, and it really worked. That these two guys were trying to beat each other up. It was not a wrestling match. It was a brawl. And it was easy to fall hook, line, and sinker with it. Out of the middle of nowhere, as everybody knows, Shawn ends up putting Brett into the sharpshooter. And Hebner rings for the bell. Honestly, the way that they cut the match together, you don't know that Vince and Sarge are at ringside until the match is already over, but Shawn and Triple H, they are two of the most pissed off guys that have ever won the World Heavyweight Championship. I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. The story that they tell is that basically they had signed Brett to a 20-year deal. They weren't able to live up to it. So they asked Brett if he wanted to go get another deal. Brett ends up finding a 3-year, $3 million deal from WCW, being the highest paid wrestler in the business today. Of course, this would be the worst decision of Brett's career because WCW never really knows how to use them, and it was basically the end of his career. By the end of that 3-year contract, he had basically suffered concussions and was not able to wrestle, to the point where WCW quietly just let his contract end. And until 2010, when he came back for WrestleMania 26, and to be the GM of Raw for that short period, we didn't hear Brett at all do anything. Just it's over. Of course, Brett gets all pissed off. They tell their story of basically, Brett not wanting to play ball. They even say at one point they show fans that are like, honestly, just not knowing what the hell is going on the outside, and they're all shocked. They try and sell the fact that Brett let them down with his actions, and then show him like breaking monitors, saying that he lost them as fans in Canada. Complete bullcrap. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't think you need to have this DVD in your collection. I think that honestly, especially with the network now these days, and you can just click to watch the first Survivor Series main event. You can click to watch the Montreal Screwjob. You can pick the matches that you want to watch using the search feature, which works for me most of the time. But as far as this, I'm sure you'll never see this uploaded onto the WWE Network. Smear campaign on Hulk Hogan, smear campaign on Bret Hart. Just all around not that good. And a really, really weird Undertaker interview where he's in the Undertaker garb. And it's not like it's the closest you're ever going to get to an Undertaker shoot interview. I'll tell you that. Talking about the match with Hulk Hogan in 1991. But as much information as you get out of him, just really, really weird to hear him sort of talking in his regular voice about 1991 Undertaker.